welcome to the broadcast. Glad you are with us. We are reporting from northern Illinois. My wife's mother was taken to the hospital last week. Took a turn for the worse. Was she 87? 87? And now has been put on hospice. And so we have had to come up here with just a few hours notice over the weekend to see her and be with her. So we are here in northern Illinois for the day, head back to the Mid-South tomorrow morning. So there you go. We want to get to Aaron, our reporter on the ground in Israel, with what is a huge day for Israel. Let's not undermine this part. 20 live hostages released after more than 2 years in captivity by Hamas in Gaza. We cannot undermine that at all. That is a huge victory, and one for which we thank President Trump and his entire team, Steve Witkoff and the rest of them. That part we're very happy about. But the news today is all about President Trump bringing peace to the Middle East and signing a peace deal. But wait a minute. Were there even the representatives in the room moments ago in Egypt to sign the deal? World leaders lining up, many of them, to have their picture with President Trump, who's now being declared a man of peace. But is this really peace in the Middle East? Peace in the Middle East, as we have Gaza killing many Palestinians even right now. Also, have we even finished phase 1 of this peace deal? What about phase 2? Look, we're not trying to be a wet blanket. No, we're very, very happy to see the release of 20 hostages. Of course, we have to ask the question, where are the women? Where are the women hostages? None. Not any of those released were women. Apparently, those could not be released. They were raped, and then murdered. Apparently, so they could not come out and tell the truth about Islam. Is this a false peace, my friends? Is this a false peace? I think it is. Is it something that is even really in effect right now? I don't think so. I'll take the 20 hostages. Glad that has happened. But are we really in an era of peace in the Middle East? Or is this just a large campaign, PR, legacy? Look, I would love for there to be legitimate peace in the Middle East, but I don't think that's what we have here. In fact, we don't even have the release of all the dead, 27 dead Israelis. Where are they? We are now being told that the IDF is escorting the bodies of 4 slain hostages back into Israel. Where are the others? We're missing some. And of course, then we have some on the side, the right. Some on the right there in Israel are saying, look, if any of this deal is not fully met, we have to go back in and finish it up. So again, do we really have peace in the Middle East? I would say, no, we don't. But many are being told, they're being told that this is peace in the Middle East. Big ceremony just took place. We all watched it in Egypt as President Trump aboards Air Force One, apparently, I guess, headed back immediately. I hope he is, to the United States. Many of us were nervous about him going over there to start with all that's going on. So it would be great to have him back on U.S. soil. Another big story, if we go to Aaron, is the fact that on Air Force One, on his way to the Middle East last night, President Trump openly stated that he does not think he is going to get into heaven. He is not bound for heaven. You know, a few weeks ago, we heard him talk about the fact that he is trying to work his way to heaven, trying to earn his way to heaven. And last night aboard Air Force One, the audio came out first, and then the video came out this morning, where he was simply stating that he is not sure that he is heaven bound. He's not sure he's going to be able to get into heaven. He's done his best, and he said that he has helped change a lot of lives, but he doesn't know that he's not sure heaven is something he's going to acquire. That's really sad, isn't it? I'll address that later in the program. Cyrus, I pre-recorded with her because her schedule demanded that today, and I want to get her take on this, and I did address those very sad statements by President Trump aboard Air Force One, as many of us are praying for his real salvation, that he can indeed be guaranteed heaven bound. But first, let's go to Israel. Our reporter on the ground, Aaron Lavarco, on what is a huge day for Israel, the return of 20 hostages alive. Aaron, welcome back to the broadcast. Thank you for being with us.
Hi, Brannon. Shalom. Great to be with you.
All right, 20 hostages back. We are looking at the video footage today, many of them greeting their family members, hugging, crying, celebrating after more than 2 years in captivity. I mean, just think about the kind of person that it takes to survive that alone. I was thinking about that today. These are amazing human beings. The mental, the spiritual, the physical stamina and ability. These are amazing people. How many of us could survive 2 years, over 2 years, starved, beaten, tortured, in the dark, in tunnels, deep underground, and come out alive? The human will to live. The stories of these 20 people alone is a remarkable story and should be celebrated just from their, as I said, their physical, spiritual, and mental ability to stay alive, not to mention God's obvious providential care of them. That is alone a major story today. Congratulations to you and your countrymen on the return of these 20, Aaron.
Thank you, Brannon. Firstly, I'm sorry to hear about your mother-in-law, Melissa's mother. May she recover. Listen, Brannon, today was a very emotional day. Bittersweet. Bitter in the sense that, there weren't more than 20. Bitter also that even though physically they made it through, we know that there's treatment, there's rehabilitation needed. But, if you're looking for me to shed any tears, they've all gone, Brannon, because all day, everyone in the nation watching television, watching the families reunite, watching them scream with pain, with joy, with sorrow, with laughter, with everything. It was an incredible day. Through the streets of Israel for the last 2 years, we've had flags, we've had banners, we've had protests, bring them home. Now that's over. They're home. Like Psalm 126, it says, when the Lord brought back the captives to Zion, we were like men that dreamed. And then our mouths were filled with laughter, our songs with joy. And I know there's a lot to go. I know it may be a cessation of war, and I know there's a lot of dark clouds on the horizon. But just today, we celebrated like a nation united. We were watching Donald Trump give his speech in the Knesset. He was like a father bringing two fighting sons together, Netanyahu and the opposition. And it was just a day of unity where we put aside our differences and we were just so happy. But as I say, it was bitter, sweet for sure. We know that there's a long road ahead for the recovery and the rehabilitation of these people, and the path ahead, and the families of the dead, their dead children and parents. What are they going through? That also was a difficult one for the nation to carry as well. They're getting their family members home, but they're not living. So bittersweet, but a historic day, something that millions of people have been praying for. How many times have I said, pray that these captives come home? They're home now. That chapter, that leverage that Hamas has been having over our nation is gone now. So thankfully, we can move on a little bit from there, but there's a lot to talk about. So much happened today.
Indeed, it did. So the leaders lining up in Egypt, Emmanuel Macron, the leader of Spain, I mean, the list goes on and on, wanting their picture with President Trump, a man being declared as the man of peace. He talked about, we've brought peace to the Middle East. That part is where I start saying, not so fast. I know PR, writing history, writing your legacy, presidents one after the other want to do it. But I don't think there's peace in the Middle East. We haven't even made it through phase 1 yet. We don't have the bodies of the dead hostages all back yet. Some of your own folks on the right are very tentative on all of this. What are your thoughts when you're hearing peace in the Middle East? Because I don't see it. I'm glad to have the hostages back, but I don't see peace in the Middle East.
Well, how does one define peace, Brannon? Is peace just a cessation of war, or is it breaking bread together? Over 50 years ago, Israel signed a peace deal with Egypt. We haven't had war. We haven't had really many conflicts at all with Egypt. Is that a peace? Well, there's no war. There's trade. There's military, agricultural, water cooperation. But, people usually define it as a cold peace. Look, the facts on the ground is that Donald Trump has stopped 8 wars. I was watching his speech in Sharm el-Sheikh, and he invited the president of Pakistan up. The president of Pakistan was almost in tears, thanking Donald Trump for saving a potential nuclear war with India. So, facts on the ground, what he has achieved is unbelievable, even just today. But we know that one man at this stage, maybe the scriptures have got something to say differently for the future, but right now, one man can't really achieve peace unless he's the Messiah, unless he's the Prince of Peace. So we know it's not down to one man. He's doing all he can, but it's going to take work, it's going to take effort, it's going to take compromise. Again, how does one define peace? Is it a cessation of war only, or is it more than that? I personally think we're going to see a level of peace. We're going to see nations sign up for the Abraham Peace Accords. I mean, when you look at the nations that were sitting with him, the leaders of the nations at Sharm el-Sheikh, unbelievable. You've got India, you've got Pakistan, the Palestinian leader, you've got Iraqis there, and Donald Trump, he was ruling them. He was absolutely leading in this, and they were following him like the Pied Piper. It was unbelievable, but it's going to take effort. I don't know. I cannot answer that question. But
when we come back, let's bring up Smotrich. Smotrich, your finance minister, he is reportedly wanting ironclad assurances from the prime minister that Israel will resume the war in Gaza once phase 1 of the truce ends. So we'll see. I don't know, folks. I don't know. But I guess we can celebrate obviously today we shall, the release of 20. Still, dead hostages need to be returned. We'll also be hearing an update from Annie, who's not quite as excited. We'll be right back.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon Howse.
All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. Worldview Radio, our website, worldviewradio.com. Finance Minister Smotrich, any hiccup, any delayed, any perceived breach is a green light to restart the offensive. Aaron, what do you make of this? What are you hearing from the far right there in Israel?
Yeah, we're hearing a lot of voices, and we're also hearing voices from our defense minister, Israel Katz, because Hamas have already said we are not laying down our weapons, and that is breaking one of Donald Trump's 20 pin mark points that they signed. And already they've said we will not lay down our weapons and we will not retreat. And we want to be a part of the negotiations for the future of Gaza. But Donald Trump made it very clear that any future planning for Gaza will definitely not have Hamas. And Hamas have already broken that and said, we're staying, we're going to be part of it, and we're not laying down our weapons. So our defense minister said, if that remains the same, we will act very strongly. Now, Smotrich and people like Ben-Gvir from our right-wing religious parties within our coalition government, rightly so, they are raising their voices. They're putting pressure on Bibi Netanyahu. Seriously, I don't think they even need to. With our defense minister, he sees the situation very well. So I think for this next stage, we're going through stage one. We're almost completed that when we get the dead captives back. But stage two, we're going to be talking about the day after. And this is what Smotrich and Ben-Gvir are concerned about. And personally, the handwriting's on the wall. Donald Trump has made it clear that Hamas will not break any of these points, and they already have. So, and let's not forget that. So
we don't really have peace. That's exactly the point I was bringing up in the first segment. We don't have a peace deal. They have broken it. They have broken it. You just described it.
Yeah, but here's the big thing, and that's what I said before. How do we define peace? Is it a cessation of war, or is it sitting down breaking bread? Listen, Hamas are finished. They're done. The big question is, do they want to live or not? That's the big question. And we'll go after them. And Trump, he'll be totally behind it. We will go after them. The big issue now is that they've got no leverage over us. The only leverage that they will have is that they will hide behind civilian people in Gaza and force us to kill them and kill innocent people. That's the only leverage. But they've got no more hostages. So, who are we talking about peace with? Definitely not with Hamas. We'll never have peace with Hamas because it's in their charter to wipe us out. But one of the people who is in Sharm el-Sheikh listening to Donald Trump was Mahmoud Abbas, the Palestinian Authority president. And whether he likes it or not, he is under pressure from pretty much all of the Arab League because all the Arab League nations agree with Donald Trump's plan. So it's only Hamas. And when we say Hamas, we're talking about a few thousand people. Listen, I know I'm sounding optimistic, Brannon, and I'm not saying it's going to be plain sailing. There will be frictions, there will be fighting, but compared to the decades long fighting with Hamas and the Palestinian people, there is a lot of hope that is over. We've just got to, cut off this head of the snake of Hamas. That is really what I think Smotrich and Ben-Gvir are concerned about.
And I appreciate all that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate all that. But if we're going to turn the Gaza over to a globalist, Labor Party, Fabian socialist, one world religion, new world order, Tony Blair, this is not something I can celebrate. Happy if the killing stops, but I'm not really interested in the elevation of Tony Blair, Mr. Digital ID, Mark of the Beast, one world religion man. But that seems where we're going. Then it seems as though Gaza will be turned into a 15-minute city and become a model for the world. That this is how you end conflict and you bring peace by turning everybody into cattle that's got their biometric and digital ID so we can turn them on and turn them off. And if you can bring peace to that area, it'll be the model for the rest of the world. In many regards, I think we're being set up. I feel it in my spirit, but we'll wait and see.
Brannon, I couldn't agree with you more. So, you asked me about peace. Yes, I do see it coming into a time of peace, but it won't be the kind of peace that we desire, we hope, we pray, and is predicated on the scriptures, based on truth. No, it will be a false peace. It will be a deceptive peace, but there will be a level of peace. That's how I see it going. No, we don't want that. We don't want that. But so there's the cessation of war, the general cessation of war, but the kind of peace that is being put on the table is very, very concerning. Big time concerning. We've only got 53% of the Gaza Strip, Brannon. That's not enough. When you think of the Gaza Strip isn't that big, but when you think of international leaders coming up with all kinds of humanistic ideas and with AI and all of that you've mentioned, very, very concerning. Absolutely.
Indeed it is. Indeed it is. Aaron, we're so happy for your country to get these 20 back. We're happy to see the families of 4 get at least 4 of the bodies back. We'd like to see the rest of the 20 something. We got 27 altogether, 4 coming back. So what are we missing? 23 bodies missing. So we need those back.
Like that.
Yeah. So congratulations. Have you been able to see your own IDF children and hug their necks yet?
Yeah, we talked. We're all celebrating. We're all rejoicing. It's taking time to sink in this reality when for 2 full years, every day we've been grieving, hoping, and now it's a reality. We're all excited but concerned about this phase 2 and then phase 3. It is very, very concerning. Yeah.
Aaron, thank you for being with us, and we join you guys in being excited about the 20, that's for sure. We'll see where all this goes, as I think it is increasingly setting the stage for Bible prophecy, no doubt about it. Aaron Lavarco, LightToTheNationsMinistry.com, brought to you by our foundation, WorldviewFoundation.com. We send him regular love offerings to be here for us, a workman's worthy of his hire. He serves us, and so help us as we serve him. WorldviewFoundation.com, WorldviewFoundation.com. Annie's schedule today required I do a pre-interview with her, and so I just recorded this moments ago, finished recording it moments ago before we went live on the air. I want to bring you part of that. We'll have to interrupt it with a hard break coming up, and then play the totality after the upcoming break here. But I want you to hear a little bit of what Annie had to say about all this as she's been covering it through the night, watching it live. Here we go. Joining me now is Annie Cyrus, one of our national security and Islamic experts. Many of you know her, born and raised in Iran. She joins us now to respond to what is happening in Egypt, even as we're on the air. President Trump leaving the airspace of Israel today, touching down in Egypt, and announcing the Gaza deal in what is called a momentous breakthrough. Peace in the Middle East. But is it really peace? I certainly am happy about the release of the 20 hostages that are alive. That's wonderful. So excited. I want to thank President Trump and all that worked on that so tirelessly. But wait a minute. This is phase 1 of the peace deal. How many phases are there? Have we even completed phase 1? And why are people so quick to say peace if the phases aren't even finished yet and they're still fighting in Gaza, particularly Hamas murdering Palestinians? Joining me now is Annie Cyrus. Annie, respond to all of this. I know you've been up through the night watching it in real time. Please let our listening friends today know your thoughts.
Of course. And yes, I share that feeling. The moment watching the first transfer of the 7 hostages, I was watching it live at the border. You could see how tense it was, of course. You have Hamas in black masks. You have the Hezbollah soldiers backing Hamas up. You have IDF and then, American troops standing by for support. It's tense. But the moment these hostages were handed over from Red Cross to Israeli military, I can't deny that moment got me choked up. The exhausting excitement in their faces were amazing. Yes. But Immediately after that, things changed. First thing that changed was Hamas's spokesperson said, we're going to be releasing only 4 of the deceased hostages because it's very hard to gather all 27 of them. Then ended up saying, how about we give you 2 and then we'll figure the rest of it out. On the other side, Israeli government said, okay, so we're going to release the 250 jihadist, murderous rapists, and we're going to hold on to the 1,700 civilians until you give us the dead bodies. Now, my question for you, because I don't understand a lot of this, Brannon, why are we calling this a historic moment? We've been here before plenty of times, haven't we? What is historic about this exchange?
I guess I don't mind the word historic. I mean, getting back 20 citizens alive after 700 days, it's an historic event. But I guess my issue is the use of the word peace, that we have peace, that we have peace. I'm like, wait a minute. We haven't even finished phase 1 yet. Correct, Annie? Don't we have several phases to go through yet before peace can be declared?
Yes, so the phase 1 was supposed to be all hostages released and then the 1,950 prisoners released. That is phase 1. But now, to the point of why they're calling it peace is because President Trump did officially sign his own deal, co-signed by Qatar, Turkey, and Egypt. But reality is you do not make peace between 2 nations, militia, military, when neither one of them were in the room to sign it. Qatar is claiming they represent Hamas. U.S. is representing Israel, but I'm pretty sure by any international law, unless the representatives of that specific military or country signs this treaty holds no meaning. This is a charade. Turkey, Egypt, Qatar, and U.S. have no control officially over neither Israel nor Gaza border. So they are calling it peace because it needs to be. It's a narrative. It's been a set narrative from January 20th of 2025. Now we need to just implement the narrative. There is no peace. Hamas representatives were not in the room. They did not sign the paper. Netanyahu did not go to Egypt with President Trump. Neither did he send a representation of Israel in the room. A lot of other leaders from a lot of other countries were there, but none of those are relevant to this specific piece. Now, we expanded to the talking heads of peace in Middle East. Really? India sent a secondary representative because the leader of India refused to show up in the same room when Prime Minister of Pakistan is sitting at. That's some peace right there. Oh wait, the border of Afghanistan and Pakistan lit up yesterday morning with already more than 60 Taliban members and 12 Pakistani military members dead. But nobody's...
Go ahead. All right, we're going to come in here, come right back on the other side. More from Cyrus that we just pre-taped. Go away.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work. Try to see a doctor this week or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Go to worldviewhealthcare.com. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. worldviewhealthcare.com. That's worldviewhealthcare.com.
The emergency kit available at worldviewhealthcare.com. Make sure you don't have to go to urgent care. I got pneumonia. I didn't have to go. I took this last year. Stayed at home. Went to bed. All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. We are being told right now we are doing the biggest numbers for radio we have ever done. We can't tell how many are listening on the wonderful VCY America Radio Network or WROS out of Jacksonville, Florida. but we can certainly tell how many are watching and listening across all of our platforms. And we're being told that we are now hitting the biggest numbers we have ever recorded. And we've had a lot of things happen over the last several years that brought in big numbers. But today we are hitting the biggest numbers we have ever hit. Clearly, something is in this story that is of great interest to many around the world. And we're thankful for that, as we do indeed celebrate the return of 20 live human beings. Their stories I look forward to telling you, because to me, that is so remarkable that people can survive in those kind of conditions for over 2 years. Absolutely remarkable. We are broadcasting from Northern Illinois. As I said, my wife's mother took a turn for the worse, and we had to rush on a Saturday to get up here. We had a great time with her on Saturday evening and then on all day Sunday. We actually walked into the room yesterday. I walked in, and Logan and Melissa, and she started crying and said, I believe in miracles, she said. I believe in miracles, and this is a miracle. I guess she thought it was a miracle that her grandson and her daughter and son-in-law came all the way from Tennessee. The rest of the family has been with her as well, as they all live in the area. And then she pointed at me. She said, I know who that guy is. And she called me by name, something she has not been able to do, identify some people at times, others not so much. But she was very clear yesterday in the ability to have a conversation with us over several hours. And so that's why we're here in Northern Illinois. We're going to take advantage of that. And it's something we found out that's in the Northern Illinois area a few months ago. Don't know how I didn't know this wasn't in the area. I should have known, but I didn't. And a lot of locals I talked to here locally, family members, they didn't know this was local, like 10 minutes from their house. I'll share with you tonight on Brannon Howse Live what's just about 10 minutes away. It's pretty interesting, and it's historic stuff, and you know how much I love history. So we'll bring that to you tonight on Brannon Howse Live here from Northern Illinois. And then we'll be back tonight not only with that special revealing of what we're going to cover this afternoon, but we'll of course have more on this big day in the Middle East and the world, but yet also the controversy ongoing of a Qatari base in Idaho. And our email is really loading up with that for sure. I'm all for making the Middle East great again, but hey, we got to get back to making America great again and not letting the Islamists take over America. With that, let's continue our conversation with Annie Cyrus that I just barely finished pre-recording before we went live today. Listen to the rest, please.
It's covering the war going on with less than 1,300 miles away from the room they're signing their peace deal. War broke up between Pakistan and Afghanistan. India won't show up where Pakistan is at. Iran respectfully declined the invitation to Egypt because they don't want to be part of this. It's a fake narrative. And it's being pushed by anybody who thinks somehow you can make a peace deal, everlasting peace deal with Muslim jihadists.
Israel's foreign minister says the quiet part out loud, writes Mario Nafal. Finance Minister Smotrich just turned political leverage into a war guarantee. He claims to have received ironclad assurances from Prime Minister Netanyahu that Israel will resume the war in Gaza once phase 1 of the truce ends, assurance that technically hinge on Hamas failing to disarm or talks collapsing, but that Smotrich is selling as unconditional. In public, he's framing it as a victory for his hard right faction. Quote, our condition is that there is no Hamas, end quote. In practice, that means almost any hiccup, a delayed negotiation, a perceived breach, becomes a green light to restart the offensive. Smotrich reportedly withdrew a resignation threat on January 27th after Netanyahu's private commitments, a move that cemented his party's support and signaled to hardliners that the war machine isn't stopping, just refueling. It's political semantics with battlefield consequences. The prime minister offered, quote, conditional assurances, end quote. Smotrich heard a promise of total war. The source is Reuters, TOL, and Arab News. Annie, your thoughts?
Yes, that's interesting because I was speaking this morning to a friend of mine, and I said, I understand a lot of people are saying, oh, this is just for Israel to get their hostages back, and then maybe we'll resume the war. And I do see that happening, especially because by the way, I know your audience knows me well enough not to question, but my sources since yesterday has been the Telegram channel of Hamas itself. So this is where my source is at. The spokesperson for Hamas has made it very clear. Hamas nor Palestinians will, under any circumstances, agree to being disarmed. That is already off the table. I do not care how much President Trump on Air Force One with the audio file on his way to Israel says, we'll convince them to disarm. They have made it very clear they will not disarm themselves or their allies in Gaza border being Palestinian people. So that's going to happen. There are so many items, but here's the question. Here's my question. Why would Bibi agree to release 250 murderers, jihadists with training whom already committed jihad, and then have to go chase them afterwards to find them while trying to finish a war with Hamas? That does not seem like a smart move. Now, on top of that,
some of them have been released into what is derogatorily called the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, and where are the rest going?
Some have been released to west of Gaza, some have been sent to east of Jerusalem, and some have been sent to Egypt. The very country until a week ago had a wall up between Gaza border and Egypt and refused to be involved with Palestinians, refused to have anything to do with this war, is now accepting convicted prisoners from Palestine. That is a question that's something that's going to unfold soon. I said this off air to you, said wait until we hear the deal Trump has made with Egypt now. Because no country, especially Egypt, I have a pretty good understanding of history of Egypt, especially after it was conquered by Islam. They don't wake up one morning and say, okay, fine, we're going to get involved. They don't host the summits. They don't accept Palestinian prisoners unless something was promised to them. We'll find out soon enough what was promised. Now, another developing that I'm monitoring, and as soon as I have all the evidence, but now there's evidence apparently coming out that Hamas has been helping, Qatar government has been helping Hamas during last 2 years moving these hostages around. Now let me repeat the question of if that is even a rumor of it. Why is President Trump still shaking hand with Qatar? Why is Qatar government signing this deal where instead of calling U.S. or Israel government saying, hey, I know where your hostages are, send rescue mission people, they kept funding and finding location for Hamas to keep moving these hostages.
And let's talk about the fact we don't have any women being released, Annie. No women being released. I guess they were all raped and murdered. I guess we couldn't have them coming out talking about the fact they were raped and such, right? Exactly.
We knew that on the list of 20 alive hostages, there won't be any women. The one that were alive were released on the late 2024 exchange. But I'm pretty sure if and when the deceased names are dropped, you'll see plenty of women whom later probably will be clarified that they were raped, tortured, and then killed. Because that's what Hamas does. That's what Islam does. That's what Muhammad did. If you have your war slaves, they give them a chance to convert. If not, turn them into your sex slave until they die. And that's said in the Quran, by the way. I'm not making it up out of my bad memories.
Yeah. And again, I appreciate the release of the 20. I appreciate all the work by President Trump and his envoy, Steve Witkoff, and others. But I just don't know why they're so quick to call this peace. Are they assuming that the public will buy the narrative that, hey, we had peace, and then when it breaks apart, well, we did it, but they broke it, but we at least get credit for brokering peace? I mean, is this trying to write history versus what is reality?
Bingo. Yes, absolutely. And also the usual tactic of first thing is because President Trump has developed this habit of lashing out at Bibi all the time. We saw it during the 12 Days War. We saw it the last time of supposedly ceasefire. He's going to lash out and blame Bibi. That's the first thing he's going to do, while blaming also Hamas. And he's going to say they've been at war for so long they don't know what they're doing, except he's going to drop an extra word in there. And he's going to say, I did it. I did it. I achieved the peace. I did the deal, but these people don't want it. So credit goes to me. And I am the president of peace. I am the peacemaker. I want to get personal for a minute on both my Christian faith and my Iranian side. There are banners in Jerusalem and other areas of Israel where there's a Israeli flag, President Trump in front of the flag, full body. Above or on the side, writing says that Cyrus the Great is alive. I want to tell anyone who's behind this marketing, you do not get to compare President Trump to Cyrus the Great. Through Bible, through history, or in any shape or form, Cyrus the Great let the military or the army holding his sword while fighting to free the Jews. And when he did, he didn't ask for cameras and claps. He took the bounties of all the treasures of that war of Babylon, gave it to the Jews and said, here's the money, here's the assets you need to build your temple. That is what Cyrus the Great did. And he walked away. He walked away. He didn't tell them how to build it. He didn't tell them we're going to have a transitional government headed by Tony Blair and you build a 15-minute city. It is absolutely offensive for Israeli marketing group, government, whomever did it. It is absolutely offensive when you compare an arrogant, greedy man like President Trump, who is so full of himself that his 1 hour, 6 minutes of address of Israeli Knesset was nothing except me, 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 me. Look at me. You don't compare him to Cyrus the Great. Maybe you don't know who Cyrus the Great was.
And this is one reason why we love having Annie on, because she brings us not only the history out of the Middle East, but she is not afraid to call it the way it is. Now, I will comment, of course, on something I've already mentioned, and that is the very sad response by President Trump on Air Force One last night, that apparently he is not heaven-bound. He's willing to accept the fact that he's not heaven-bound. I mean, he talks about the fact, but at least I have made a lot of people's lives better. But he doesn't think he's going to get into heaven. I mean, I guess this is what happens when you surround yourself with people like Paula White with her false prosperity gospel. But I know there has to be people who have shared the real gospel with President Trump for many, many, many years. I don't understand. I mean, I do understand from a theological perspective, but apparently something about the biblical gospel message is something that President Trump doesn't want to understand or doesn't understand, right? And, you know, I think this is one reason, if I may say, why false religions that are based over there. We'll bring you the rest of that right after this break here on the BCY America Network. Don't go away.
We have a big announcement, folks. It's called Bella Melt. In the first week, you lost 3 pounds on this, right?
That is correct.
Your GLP-1 is a natural hormone that's in every single one of our bodies. And your GLP-1 lets you know if you're full. It's a satiety hormone. So when your GLP is working properly, it does help suppress your appetite as well as reduce those cravings. So what it's going to do best is it's going to reduce your sugar cravings or any other cravings you have in your body. It's going to suppress that appetite. But where Melissa got the most benefit, I think, over the last week was the L-carnitine. The L-carnitine tells your mitochondria, this is where you make, we talked about it before, this is where you produce energy in your cells. It actually tells those mitochondria to burn fat for fuel.
Melissa Howse, BG.com, just now introducing for the first time Bella Melt with GLP-1 fast action.
All right, welcome back. Hey, we're presenting all sides today. We had Aaron, our reporter, on the ground live from Israel. You heard his analysis, and now that of former Iranian and Muslim herself, now Christian, Cyrus, giving us her analysis. And interesting, some are saying, oh, she's too negative. Others are saying she's right on. Hey, folks, the Bible says Israel would be like this, that the Jews in the last days would be like this, that this would make many, many people fight and argue and be a divisive issue. And the feedback on our own website reveals that. Some saying she's 100% right, others saying she's negative Nelly. Well, you know what? Reality is we bring you perspectives, whether it's Aaron in Israel or former Iranian and former Muslim Cyrus. We bring you analysis like no other. I deliberately booked these two guests, knowing exactly the kind of side we would get from both of them. But that's why our show, I think, is so popular. We're willing to present all sides, not just one narrative coming out of Capitol Hill, the White House, or anywhere else for that matter. Here's the balance of my interview recorded just moments before we went live today with Cyrus. Whether it's cults, whether it's any religious system that is based on works, doing enough penance, enough good deeds, or producing enough fruit. I think that's one reason why these are so popular, because man's pride wants to be involved in some way, somehow, thinking he's earning his own salvation, and that's in some sense he's paying his own way. And for whatever reason, that is what many people, it's the stumbling block for many people to come to salvation, to think that they have nothing to do with it, zero to do with it. There's no one good, no, not one. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. There's nothing they can do to earn their salvation. And it's just by faith alone, placing your faith and trust in Christ alone. That for many has been the big stumbling block to receive the gospel, because their pride wants them to have something to do with it. And I can't but help think that when you speak about President Trump's pride, and that's something all of us have to worry about, all of us have to deal with, right? All of us have to put into check. But to think that one can hear the gospel, as I think he has from so many people for so long, and I know people like this, by the way, and I've known people like this, they cannot bring themselves to accepting the free gift of salvation because their pride says, I have to be involved in some way doing this. And for whatever reason, he doesn't think he's done enough. He doesn't think he's done enough to get to heaven. That made me so sad to hear that audio first last night, and then the video that finally got uploaded on Air Force One. But I think it speaks to the issue you're talking about, a pride that apparently trips him up from even receiving the free gift of salvation. He doesn't have to do anything to earn it, but apparently he wants to.
He does. I feel like we all do. All humans, we want to receive the gift of salvation, or some people don't call it salvation, finding our way to heaven. But someone, actually, this person is one of your lovely audience who always message me or comment on my work after I'm on your show, and they pointed out something interesting I didn't think of, or I didn't even pay attention to, but the comment was as followed: maybe instead of gifting his family Bible to the museum, he should have opened it and started reading it. And I agree with that comment.
Yeah, and I think
she's correct.
Yeah, and I think we should all be praying for President Trump, because that last night was such a huge statement. And of course, since you and I were on the air, I guess his medical report has come out, and he went to, I guess, Walter Reed for the second time in a year to receive some kind of full scan, which tells me there's something going on either with his heart, with his kidneys, something's going on. And according to the report, he supposedly received another COVID booster. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But if it is, wow. If he's having the serious health crisis that he's having, and he is receiving some kind of IVs, as evident from maybe the bruising on his hands and the makeup they put on there to try to cover it, if he is receiving IVs, and if he is and has had some kind of TIA or small stroke at some point, which pictures seem to say a little drooping on one side, that he's when he gets tired, you can see it better. I don't know what's going on. All I can do is guess like everybody else. But if he's really struggling with a health crisis and they really did give him a COVID booster, well, you and I have been saying we're not sure he's going to finish his term due to his health. I mean, Do you think he really got a COVID booster, or was that just more marketing for Pfizer and these other companies?
Well, I would say, considering if it's proven that he didn't and the report says he did, it could be serious legal issues. I lean toward he did. And remember, he did sit on camera constantly saying, even during his recent campaign, he said, take the vaccine. It's a good vaccine. It's a good thing. I think he did, especially with, international travels. I think he did. He doesn't seem, he has never been against the vaccine, or, he's still giving funding for more mRNA vaccines. And remember the cancer mRNA, genetically modified cancer vaccine they're working on now. He announced the first week of his presidency that we're going to make this so each individual can be given that cancer vaccine based on their genes and avoid getting cancer. So he's a believer in vaccines. I don't see why he wouldn't take the booster.
World leaders are now hailing President Trump as a man of peace. President Trump, a man of peace. This is very interesting. I'll close with this, Annie. If this peace deal falls apart, quote, peace deal, which I don't even think we've passed fully on phase one, much less the other phases. But when this deal is not realized and things in the Middle East fall apart again, which I think that's what's going to happen. I think it has to, for me to understand Bible prophecy as I do. And a world leader shows up, you can kind of see where the world's going to say, you know what, we've been down this road before. We've been down this road before. Do we need one more world leader trying to tell us that they can bring peace? And I think that's when you start seeing this Antichrist figure saying, no, but I actually have the power to do it. And we start seeing him perform counterfeit miracles, signs, wonders, other things to say, you see, I can do these things. I can do something supernatural that others haven't been able to do. In some ways, I think this is all setting the world up to say, oh, look at that. There was a false peace, a false peace, a false peace. We know the Antichrist shows up, promised. All right, the Antichrist shows up performing counterfeit miracles, signs, and wonders. We'll put that full interview online. While we're on the air, we have a Hamas leader who has reportedly come out and said the countdown to the next massacre has begun. Next time we will slaughter all the Jews. All right, folks, that's not what we want to hear, but we got to report reality. Pray for America, because I just saw another video out of Minnesota, the Somalis. We've got a problem in America, an Islamic problem, but I'm not so sure we're going to hear Islam addressed here in America too soon. Pray for America. May God save America. Stay tuned for Crosstalk. Take care.
This has been...
And we're back with WROS out of Jacksonville, Florida. Let's go ahead and finish the balance of my interview with Annie Cyrus. Here's how the rest of it went. Peace. We know that's a false peace, because then war breaks out, right? So even he has to rip out, according to Daniel, 3 leaders, world leaders by the roots, to try to finally bring about a new world order and a limited peace that doesn't last very long. But in many regards, I think this is setting up for that Antichrist figure, because people are going to say, well, we tried this before. Remember Donald Trump? Nothing happened from that. It didn't last. It wasn't a real peace. And I think this sets him to say, well, let me show you. So in some regards, I think this is setting up for the Antichrist and a leader that will be, in some ways, beyond natural. Because he'll be supernaturally charged. Your thoughts in closing?
I do agree with what you're saying. My only disconnect here is, considering when this deal falls apart and chaos starts in Gaza again, people aren't going to see Trump failing the peace deal. So I'm not sure if they're going to necessarily give up on another peace deal being made by Trump, or are they going to keep giving him chance to keep buying time for the jihadists? Yes, I said it. He's buying time for all the jihadists across the world.
Well, and we see CARE and all these other groups really mobilizing for the midterm elections. I text Aaron and I said, well, I'm happy for you in Israel that 20 hostages returned, but President Trump needs to get back to America, and he needs to make America great again, and he needs to deal with all the Islamists that are taking over our cities, our mayor, offices of the mayor, city council, governor's mansion, House, Senate seats, because we're about to become one big, gigantic Gaza here in America.
I'm not sure, how do you expect him to come back to America and deal with Islamists? He was in a room filled with the funders, masterminds, and puppeteers of the jihadists a few hours ago. He shook their hands, he praised them, he told them how great they are, and he seemed to like them pretty much. I'm not sure if he's ever going to come home and do anything that would upset those leaders of Arab Islamic countries. He's not going to do that. This morning there was an argument. Well, it started with I'm reporting on fake news, and it was started with I'm using liberal tactics, dirty tactics of clickbait titles. Bottom line, when proven that no, we are building a facility for Qatar military in our base in Idaho, the answer was, I'm sure President Trump doesn't know about it.
We have Pete Hegseth. We have Pete Hegseth saying it in his own words. His own words. Which we put on social media, and we played it 3 times, and we slowed it down for some people that are saying we're lying, like you, and we're like, what part of Pete Hegseth's own words do you not understand? We're building. They're building. They're building.
Yeah. But that they're like, well, I'm sure when Trump comes back, he's going to reverse this. No, he won't. He is aware of it. Pete Hegseth doesn't just make a deal with Qatar on his own. This is all one giant connected piece. So I hope you're right. I hope he does. I highly doubt President Trump is going to stand up to Islamization of America. Because, again, he likes his Muslim leaders. They cheer him. They boost his ego. They shake his hand. They give him a crown. He loves all of that. Why would he try to stop it? Why would he upset his friends in the Middle East? Oh, I should say.
Well, there's also a lot of business deals. A lot of business deals in Saudi Arabia and Qatar. A lot of business deals, right?
Absolutely.
Annie Cyrus, liveuptofreedom.com. liveuptofreedom.substack.com. Annie Cyrus checking in. As always, thank you, Annie.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brannon. Be safe.
You too, Annie. All right. All right, guys, we're back with you live here. And, you know, we're going to, the American people that haven't figured out Islam yet are going to figure it out real quick when they have a Marxist Muslim as mayor of Minneapolis and a Marxist Muslim mayor of New York City. Maybe that's what America needs. Maybe America needs to have the Marxist Muslim mayoral candidate in New York win. Let him win it, and let's see what he does to the biggest city in America. And then maybe we can say, well, we told you so. Now, New York's gone. I don't know how you come back from that, but maybe we can save the rest of the country by dealing with this cancer known as Islam. Because right now, a lot of Americans don't understand Islam because they have been propagandized. They have believed the lie. But you know what? The Bible tells us that people will gather around them a great number of teachers to say what their itching ears want to hear. And that's what's happened. And we even have Tony Blair, who I guess is now going to be over Gaza, Mr. Mark of the Beast himself, Mr. Digital ID, Mr. Globalist, Mr. New World Order, who's going to take over Gaza and turn it into a 15-minute city and use it as the model. He is the one working to bring all the religions of the world together as one. I don't know. All I can do is tell you. All I can do is warn, as you do, my friends, and try to save as many people as we can from the lies of this new spirituality that's not new at all. We got some big surprises tonight. See us again here tonight, Brannon Howse Live. Take care.